Welcome to Allies or Enemies. I'm Jess.
And I am Sean, and today we are talking about the first expansion for Wyrmspan Dragon Academy. And our copy was provided for review, but the thoughts in this video are all our own.
Wyrmspan Dragon Academy is designed by Connie Vogelmann with art by Clémentine Campardou. And this is the same designer and artist as the original Wyrmspan. And it comes with a ton of stuff. There are a whole bunch of new cards. There are new guilds, new objectives, new cave cards, and a new round board. And we're going to assume that you're already familiar with Wyrmspan. And if you're not, do go check out our Wyrmspan review, because we're going to just jump into covering all of this stuff, starting with the biggest part, which is the dragons.
So there are 80 new dragons in this game, and there's kind of a mix of different dragons, but let's start with the biggest one to talk about, and that is the Fledglings. So this makes up half of the dragons that come in this expansion. It's 40 out of the 80, and these are kind of like teenager dragons. They're like adolescent dragons is what they're supposed to be. All of them are worth 1 point per fledgling, and we'll come back to that in a second, but also all of them have this thing where when you explore and you go past the fledgling, you feed them something and then you add a cube to them, and once you've filled up those cubes, they get kind of like a super strong action on the bottom of them.
Yeah, and so that's not active until they are fully trained. So for some of them, you might only have to give them like 1 or 2 things. Some of them, you might have to give them like 3 or 4 things. So that's passing by them a lot before that extra thing is active. But usually the more stuff you have to spend, the stronger the reward is. So, and those rewards are variable. So sometimes it's something really strong when you walk by. Sometimes it might be something that's like really strong at the end of a round.
Yeah, and so it really is a mix, but you have to invest into those fledglings. So this is a little bit of a mixed bag for me, because I like the fledglings. I like that it gives you something else to spend things on. Often the things you're spending can be tied to the row that they're in as well. So I found a lot of the time I was like getting a card and then just immediately spending that card to move up the thing on the fledgling. But to really take advantage of that, you need to get those fledglings early so that you have enough time to walk by them, because you probably walk down each thing maybe once around, maybe not even that much.
Yeah, that is true. But the nice thing is, because they are 1 point per fledgling, is if you aren't concerned about training them, they still count as points. So it's not per fully trained fledgling. They can be completely untrained and they are still worth that 1 point. So if you got 2 or 3 out early, it could still be worth playing like a couple more later, just because that makes each of them more valuable.
Also, they do tend to come up. I was worried that they wouldn't come up enough, because there's 40 of them out of now, I think there's 263 total cards, if my math is right. So you got 40 out of 263 cards, so you get 1 in every 6-ish cards. And so I was worried, am I even going to see enough to make it worthwhile? But in the games that we played so far, and we've played with them like 3 times, I think, I have always got at least 3 fledglings. So it has been mostly worth my while.
Yeah, and I like that it's just something a little bit different and something else to consider when you're exploring the caves. And there are a few other types of dragons as well. So about 9 of the dragons are conditional. And so what that means is it can be free to play if it fulfills that very specific condition. And so that can feel really great if you're able to play a dragon for free, but it is so few, because it's like just over 10% of the new cards, but once you mix those in, it's 9 like out of 263. So they're not going to come up that often.
We've actually not yet had one come up, so we've really looked at them. We've thought about how it would be if we ever played these. We've really imagined it. And I do think if ever I had one of these in my hand, I would definitely make sure that I fulfilled that condition to do it for free. And so then it's kind of this special like, oh, what's this one? This is an interesting, different dragon. So I like that. I like that they're in there.
Yeah, and then there are other dragons that aren't conditional and aren't fledglings. So of those, about half of those still tie to fledglings. So they'll be related to fledglings in one way or another.
And that does, so earlier I had said, as you probably heard, that it can be tricky with fledglings to fill up all of their spots because you're not going to walk by them that often. These cards do help with that. So an awful lot of these cards help to train one of your fledglings 1 or even 2 levels. So I like that's a different route to combos. So having both of those in does help mitigate a little bit my earlier complaint about fledglings.
Yeah, that is true. And then the rest of the dragons, I don't think there's anything particularly special. It's just more dragons. So I think just adding a bit more to the mix.
And that is only like 20-ish dragons, as well as 5 that are slight upgrades on previous dragons. So they have 5 that replace older dragons. They're all super expensive. And I think that they all just are a little bit, they add like a point or even 2 points to the scoring values of the original card.
And on top of all of the dragon cards, there are a whole bunch of cave cards, as well as 2 replacement cave cards.
Right, and the replacement cave cards aren't, there's not a lot to talk about here. Don't buy this just for the 2 replacement cave cards, I guess. They just take out 1 symbol that you could get. Don't worry about those at all. The rest of the cave cards are a little bit of a mix where quite a few of those deal with the fledglings and help you to train up your fledglings, so you have something else to help with that.
And then the other cave cards, I think some of them do something pretty basic, like just get you stuff, but those are a little bit more rare. I think there's a lot more that are like spend stuff for more stuff or different things, and more that are, if you get this, your opponent gets something of a lesser value.
Yeah, and I do like those. Those I think are interesting because I like all of the things in this game that feel like you're kind of chaining them together. And I like those ones that give that little bit of interaction, because that's one of the knocks I think on this game, is that there's not that much interaction. It's honestly not a problem for me at all, but if you are one of those people, you want it a little bit, there's just a little bit more here. Not a huge amount, but just a little bit more here, where those cave cards are going to give you something, and it's all positive interaction.
Yeah, and on those cave cards, you're getting a really big bonus because it makes it worthwhile, because you're like, I don't want to give my opponent something, but you're like, well, this is worth it because I'm getting like to move 2 on the Dragon Guild, for example. I really want to do that, so it is still worth playing. And there are also new Dragon Guild tiles. So there are 5 new Dragon Guild tiles, so it adds like quite a few. And the Dragon Guilds really do mix things up, because one of the core things you are doing in Wyrmspan is you are moving around and activating the Dragon Guilds, hopefully like 2, 3, maybe even 4 times if you manage to really go around. And so those bonuses can make a really big difference.
And I like that these are all a little bit more targeted, a little bit more thematic. So this, I think, doubles the amount of Dragon Guild tiles that there are in the game. And you've got ones like, I'm just going to grab them because they're right in front of me here, but you've got ones like, there is one that is about the fledglings. The Veterinary Guild is all about the fledglings. The Merchants is all about money, so you can spend money, spend those coins in order to do things, or there's other ways to gain coins. And then there's also the Gamblers Guild, which is gaining stuff from the different decks, and then you get to play one of those things for free. So I like that. I like that each one will make the game feel just a little bit different.
Yeah, and there are 2 more as well, so may as well cover them. So there's the Magician's Guild, and so that lets you like swap dragons, and then you can score for dragons that are in like the wrong spaces, or let you swap cave cards as well. Then there's the King's Guild, where you've got to like pay a little bit, but then you get an even bigger bonus. So having 5 different ones is nice because it does just mix things up a bit. There's also a new round tracker board, and this replaces the old board, and it is quite a bit bigger because there's this whole section at the bottom which you use when you pass at the end of the round. You take your adventurer and you claim one of the bonuses, and only you get that bonus, no one else can claim it. And so now it changes what you get. Before, you used to always get 6 coins and an egg, This time, it's going to vary a bit. So most of the bonuses are 5 coins, an egg, plus like something else.
Yeah, and so it does, well, first of all, it's 1 less coin for most players, and people tend not to pick the 6 coins. I think we have started picking the 6 coins a little bit because extra actions generally are, better. But it is good to have that extra stuff and to have those choices and to have a little bit of a reward for finishing a bit earlier, because usually in this game, if you finished a round earlier, it's because you've done less stuff. And so you're probably a little bit behind. So it is a little bit of a catch-up mechanic, but also because most people have fewer coins, they can do fewer things the next action. It does also speed up the game just a bit.
Yeah, and it is just a bit, but it is nice that you're still getting something extra, because often it will be great because you'll be like, oh, I really want this one item to be able to play a dragon first thing next round. You'll be able to pick that as a bonus. So it is good that there are those choices. And there are differences too, because in the first and second round, it's one section of the board. In the third round, it's a different section that's just a little bit stronger. So for the most part, you'll get like 2 extra eggs instead of 1 extra egg. So it does make your final round give you just that little bit more.
And then there are also new goals. And so there's 7 new goal tiles. So in the original game, or in the base game, there's 10 goal tiles. So now it almost doubles it. And those are all double-sided. They all have different things. A couple of them have to do with the fledglings. Most of them are kind of stuff that you would expect. Have dragons that are this size, have dragons that cost this much, have dragons that need this sort of food. I think the more interesting ones are the ones that are whoever has the most coins on this sort of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting that that was added as a new objective. And so as a result of that, it does feel like you can win that, because some of the other ones where it's like have the most large dragons, you might be in a situation where you're like, I just didn't have a chance to play any large dragons. Whereas if it's, have explored the most caves, you can do that. You can probably do that like every action if you really want to, and if you really want to win that. And I like that it's added a whole bunch more objectives, because objectives really guide you and really influence what you're doing in a game.
Yeah, they especially guide Jess. And I don't pay attention to them nearly as much as I should. And I always think, oh, I'm doing great. And then I think objectives is like the thing that we score last. I'm like, oh, right. I did not think about that part. Although we're like 50-50 in this game. I cannot beat you at Wingspan. I tend to win Finspan. This is kind of the right in the middle for us, I think. So this might now be my favorite of the Span games.
So on to final thoughts. And I think the biggest thing that this expansion adds are the fledgling dragons. So a new type of dragon. And it's interesting that they work in a very different way, where you have to pass them, you have to give up an item, you've got to train them to then be able to get their bonus.
Yeah, and I am, as I've said, I'm a little on the fence about those, because if you start to get fledglings, if you want to like really make the most out of them, you mostly want to get them early in the game, and if you want to make the most out of their points, you do need to get a bunch of them. So you're a little bit at the luck of the draw, but there are those other cards and caves that all help to boost the fledglings and help to grow them without necessarily visiting them. But I think overall like these, and I like that it is a different system and that it is such a different dragon, and I like that they're teenagers.
Yeah, I like the teenage fledglings, and I like how they look. And I mean, just the art across the board looks great. It is the same artist as the original, so it is no surprise. The other thing I really like about this as well are the dragon guilds. I like that there are 5 more dragon guilds to choose from, and those bonuses do make quite a big difference.
Yeah, they do, and they definitely make the games feel just a little bit more different. They feel like they're a little bit more thematic or targeted than the ones in the original game are. I think I prefer these generally, but overall, I think it adds a little bit to the game. It's not going to greatly change the game. This is not an expansion like some of the other Stonemaier ones. There's games like Euphoria, or there's been a few that almost fix the game or like really shift the game. This isn't really a game that needed fixing. So really what this is doing is just adding a little bit more variability, a little more options.
So if you haven't played a lot of Wyrmspan, I don't think you need this expansion like day one. But if you are looking to have your games feel a little bit more different, if you have already played it a lot, it does give you a few extra things that just add to the replayability.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, this isn't like Viticulture Tuscany where everyone's going to say, if you buy Viticulture, make sure you buy Tuscany. I know some people aren't going to agree with that, but you know what I'm talking about. This is really I've played 20 games of Wyrmspan, but I would like just a little bit more, and this does add a little bit more, and I think we're going to play with this every game. I can't imagine taking this stuff out and going back to how it was. I don't think there's anything negative in here at all.
Yeah, that is true. So like once you've introduced it, I imagine you will just keep playing with it.
And that is it. That is Wyrmspan Dragon Academy. Have you played it? What did you think? And what are you hoping for the next expansion?
Thank you so much for watching. And as usual, please like, subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you next time for another game.